All right, welcome back. So in this video, I'm going to show you the starter files, and then we'll get set up with our CSS and SASS files. So in the folder Aurora Grove, there are a couple of, or there's two files or two folders. The first one is the final version, and then the second one is the starter. And this is where we're going to be working. If you look at what's in here, there's not much. There's index.html, which I'll open in just a moment. And then there's an images folder, which contains all the images that we use. And there's a couple subdirectories, the icons, the slider images, the gallery images for the social media photos. So those are all the photos. You don't have to go in and use, you can use your own if you want, but you don't have to type all the image URLs. And then also in here, in index.html, I'll open this all up. There we go. You can see that I've included not just a basic boilerplate. Bootstrap is not in here, but I did include Font Awesome because I used some icons and I didn't want you to have to go do that. And then also two fonts from Google Fonts because that's kind of annoying to add on your own. And then I've added jQuery and Popper.js, but we're still missing all of Bootstrap. So we will add that in. So that's what I want to do now. I'm going to go and download from getbootstrap.com, what we've done a couple different times. We go to download and we are going to be working with the source files. So it's a larger download, but this allows us to change things like colors. Okay, so once that downloads, I'm going to move it over to our folder that we're working in. There we go. I do need to unzip that. Forgot about that. And I'm going to rename it just to Bootstrap so that I don't have to type the 4.13. Okay. So now we have Bootstrap in here. While I'm here, I'm going to make two other folders. The first one will be SCSS, and the second one will be CSS. So SCSS is where we will be writing our own SASS code, and it's where we'll actually be importing Bootstrap and then combining it down into one file that we compile called app.css or main.css. So we're going to combine our own styles where we're changing fonts, where we're doing media queries, some basic things, making the nav bar transparent, doing this underline effect, all of that. Plus, we're going to add in Bootstrap, change its colors, change primary and secondary, then weave them together, spit out one app.css into this folder. So I'm going to hop over now into VS Code. Okay, so I have the starter folder open, and I'm going to move into SCSS, that folder, and I'm going to create three different files. So the first one is going to be called main.css or SCSS, app.scss. This will be our main one that combines two files. So I'm just going to write two files for now. And then I'm going to make my other file in here. This one we could call custom bootstrap.scss. And this one is going to override default colors and import Bootstrap. So this is what we've already done, or we've seen how to do it. So we're going to write code that changes primary and secondary. Then we import all of Bootstrap from this folder. Then we're going to have a third file, and this one we'll just call custom.scss. And this is just our custom styles. So whatever styles we want will be added in here. So this will be customizing Bootstrap, but nothing else. This will be everything else that we write in CSS or technically SASS. And then we're going to put them together here so that we have one file that we can spit out. So the way we do it, we can start with our Bootstrap side of things. So let's ignore the overriding default colors for now. Let's just import Bootstrap. And if you remember, the way we do that in SCSS or in SASS is import, @import, and then the path to Bootstrap. So we're in this SCSS folder, so we need to back out, go into the Bootstrap folder. Then inside of Bootstrap, there's a lot of stuff going on. We need to go into SCSS, and then the file is just called Bootstrap, that last one there. So SCSS, Bootstrap. If you didn't watch the videos on customizing Bootstrap, I definitely recommend you do that. We're going to use Koala here to make this work. I'm going to save. And then what I'm going to do is come over to main.scss. So main.scss, I'm going to shut down all of this. This is going to import our other two files, the two other SASS files. So we'll do @import themed Bootstrap, because we're all in the same directory, so we don't have to do any fancy path. Themed Bootstrap, and we don't have to say .scss either. So just like that. And we're going to import custom, not system. That sounds terrible. Custom. All right, so this is our custom file. And let's just say I write something in here like body background is purple. So we will be deleting this, but let's say I add that in there. Then in custom bootstrap, we're importing bootstrap. Then we're putting them together here. So if we compile this one file, main.scss, into this CSS directory, we require the resulting file in our index. We should have bootstrap, but we should also have a purple background. And that's how we know both sides are working. So we have one file, custom, the second file, bootstrap, which eventually we will be overriding colors. And then the third file puts them together. Now we need to open Koala. We select the correct SCSS folder. And the only one we actually want to compile is main. So I'm going to remove custom and remove custom bootstrap because main.scss is going to import those two into it. So now I am going to set the output path, and I want that output path to be this CSS folder. And I'm going to call the file main.css, or I like app.css. Either one works. Honestly, anything works. And I'm going to save. Now, as soon as I hit save on this main.scss, we should see, looks like we have a small problem. It cannot find themed bootstrap. Well, I'm an idiot. I called it custom bootstrap. I don't know how on earth I arrived at that. Custom bootstrap. Now I don't get an error when I save. There was no file called themed bootstrap. Now if we look at CSS, we have an app.css, and we're getting all of our bootstrap code, but at the very, very bottom, I should also have background purple. Perfect. So it's taking our two SCSS files, putting them together into app.css. So we won't be editing app.css. We'll be editing our bootstrap over here. This is where we change bootstrap stuff, and this is where we change everything else. Then in our index.html, let's go ahead and let's import with a link our CSS, which is app.css inside of the CSS folder. css/app.css. And we'll save. And open up with Live Server. And we have a purple background. And if I were to make something in the body, like an H1 with text center and display one, we should see our bootstrap code. And so it is working. Bootstrap is working and our custom stuff is working. All right, so I'm going to stop here, but we have everything set up so that we now have two places to write SASS, but we've only actually had to require one file, and it contains everything we need for our application. All right.